This episode is sponsored by the winningest shell in the history of sporting clays and FETASC history, Game Bore Shot Shells. No other brand has won more world championships. White Gold and Dark Storm contain precision-made diamond shot that is graded 5 times for consistency and has high-performance smooth velocities, providing less felt recoil. You put in the work. Now load up with the best. Why trust anything else? Available throughout the U.S., exclusively from KL Ammo. Find them online at www.GameBoreUS.com. Game Bore are simply the champion's choice.
Hey, clay shooters, it's that time again.
These guys aren't just anybody. They're good.
It's time for the Dead Pair Podcast with Jason Rambo.
Does your brain hear what your mouth is saying?
And Sean Alley.
He's large and in charge.
Here to bring you all things sporting clays, from the ins and outs, tips and tricks, news and gossip from pro shooters, service and industry specialists, coaches, clubs, and more.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only...
Welcome, everyone, to the Dead Pair Podcast.
Man, we might have to change that. You keep going on this diet, you're not going to be large and in charge anymore. You're just going to be in charge.
No, I'll still be large. I always tell everybody I was never little. I was just young.
That's right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Fresh off the heels of the American Field Sporting Ohio State Championship, the first one, the inaugural.
And wasn't that great?
What a wonderful shoot. Hats off to Dan, Christina,
Yep.
their entire staff. Mark Baltazar was there. Thank you, Mark, for giving us AFS. I don't want to say too much. We got a little something coming up.
Yeah, down the road.
Yeah, for the first ever, I can see a lot of states jumping on board with this.
Yeah,
I think Dan's numbers, talking to some people, were a little low because Nationals is coming. So,
yeah.
Real quick, Sean, and we're going to get right to our guest. You have been shooting the Ranger React AIs now for probably a month and a half now.
Yeah, I think this was my second or third tournament that I've used them in.
Yeah, and you held out because you knew the Reacts were coming.
Right.
And you didn't want to just order the old lenses. You wanted the new technology. So,
Well, duh.
I'm jealous because I'm still using the old ones. So,
Right.
prescriptions are coming, by the way, folks. I talked to Sarah. They're coming. Anyway, I want to know. Let's be serious here for a second. I want to know what it is about those Reacts that you like so well.
It's just, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, the actual lenses themselves seem to really, really emphasize the bird. And I mean, it just kind of jumps out at you. I mean, I shot with another set of lenses that I had I bought them about a year ago, had always been very happy with them. And when I put those on, I was like, wow, these are really different, you know? And they clear things up. I switched lenses. I used the middle of the road. I can't remember the names of them, but I used the middle light one for the morning because it was kind of foggy and overcast. And then as the sun broke out in the afternoon, I switched to the darker lenses, and both of them worked perfectly. And I could see clearly. I could pick up the birds clearly, and I shot pretty well overall. I had some, bumps and bruises along the way, like we always do. But I really liked them, and I never really gave them a second thought once I put them on my face. So.
Gotcha. One other thing about our personal shooting in that shoot. You did something you don't normally do, and I did something I don't normally do. Mm-hmm. We changed chokes.
Well, but thank Dan Bailey for that.
Well, so anybody that's listening, to get you to understand, if you've never been to Eagle's Nest, where the red layout was, and I say the red layout, the red course, red 1, red 2, was on a little bit of a hillside, and we had the trees away from us, and the trapper told us going in, man, this is going to be tough for you guys today. I'm like, what are you talking about? Everybody said that the red course is easier. He goes, yeah, but this wind's pushing these targets out.
It was probably like a 20-mile-an-hour wind blowing the whole day when we were there on Sunday.
Yeah, he was telling me that like the Expert and a couple of the other big ones in the back, the Teals, it was pushing them at 15 or 20 yards farther than what they were.
Well, I know that on that first peg of the red course, when I was first up on the Expert, that big teal that jumped up in the air, it had to be every bit of 80, 85 yards. I mean, no exaggeration.
Yeah, if not, it sure did look like it.
Yep. And luckily enough, I did hit it on the first break. So, and there was no horn. I got no horn. They didn't have a horn at the station. So I was like, come on, where's my horn?
But, okay, so back to the point at hand. We're both using the Rhino Elite Series chokes, which I feel is a very versatile choke. I went back and forth with a guy online the other day, and he's like, well, it just means you get less choke. And it's like, well, if you're putting in a 7 and you had a 5, then you got more choke. If it's less, then you put in a 10 and put it. Okay. Anyway, they're in between chokes. They come in a set of 7,000s, 17,000s,
and then 22,
and then 22,000s.
Right.
Which, if you look at the numbers, like a Skeet is a 5 and a Improve is a 10, so it's right in the middle. Mm-hmm. Now, you were running, just like I was, a 17 in the top barrel, which is your second shot, and a 7 in the bottom.
Correct.
You changed that. You went to a 17 in the bottom and a 22 in the top.
Yeah, well, some of those were, like I said, some of those out there were easily 60 yards plus, and a few of them were right at that 80, 85 yard range. Right. I'm not exaggerating a little bit. I mean,
but I was paying attention because I haven't used the 22s yet. I love that. Be honest with you, I had a long talk with Dan, and I was like, for everything we were shooting, I just took the 7s out, and I ran with the 17s the whole time, and I loved it. I had great breaks. But
the reason you did is because you have a second kit. I've only got the one kit, so I didn't have another 17 in my kit, so I threw the 22 in and let it eat.
That's what I was getting at, though. I was watching you with that 22, and, man.
It was smacking them.
It was dirt behind.
It was smacking them way out there. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, we're not talking about just breaking it in half, folks. We're talking poof balls.
It was crushing them, and I think that's the first time I've actually ever shot it.
The 22.
Yeah, I never really needed it for anything else.
So,
but it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and great targets. Always a good time there at Eagle's Nest. Great place to go, and Dan throws great targets. I mean, come on, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and hats off to Ryan Stryker, A-class.
A-class took
shot
HOA.
HOA with a 140 out of 150.
That's some shooting, man. That's a hot to trot day right there.
That's what I call lights out right there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Awesome shooting on his part. Anyway, OtoPro Technologies.
Yep.
We've got Dr. Grace coming on. I'm not going to dive into this too much because this woman is phenomenal, folks. Pay attention to what she says. I've spent 2 very long phone conversations with her prior to this. This woman is an absolute wealth of knowledge, and we're going to talk some in-ear technology tonight, and I think you're going to like what she has to say.
All right, everybody, we're going to do a Barepelt segment, and then a quick commercial break, and then on to Dr. Grace.
All right, for this segment of Barepelt Vest, we have Lane Picklo. Lane, how you doing, bud?
Good.
Lane,
thank you.
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for having me on, and I'm excited to talk with you guys.
No, that's great. Yeah, thank you for coming. So, Lane, tell us a little bit about, first of all, we know your name. Where are you from? Let's start with that.
So, I'm from Barepelt, Texas. I would say it's around an hour west of Houston.
Okay. And you currently are competing, registered targets. What class do you shoot in?
So I'm actually a master class shooter.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's a good accomplishment at your young age. It took me a lot longer to do
that. How old are you, Lane?
I'm 15.
15. Gotcha.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
All right. So let's get into the nitty gritty. So what influenced you to purchase a Barepelt vest?
So I actually got my first shooting vest when I was 13. And, as I said, I'm 15 now, and I've grown a lot in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So this past spring, my parents finally decided that it was time for a new vest, and because my old vest was getting too short.
Gotcha.
And one day I was going through social media, and I saw on Griffin Howe's page, you might know him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've shot one before.
That he was wearing a Barepelt. So it caught my interest. So I looked him up, and I liked how the fact that they had a tall and the fact that they were super customizable. Right. So I took it to my parents. We looked into it a little bit more, and they designed my vest. I got it around midsummer, and I absolutely love it. It is amazing.
So you love it. Tell us what it is. Do you have a favorite feature of the vest?
Oh, absolutely. My favorite feature about it is actually the material. With my old vest, I was always fighting it. It felt like I was restricted where I wanted to do some movements, but it just wouldn't quite let me. But with the Barepelt, I have no issue with that. It stretches wonderfully. And no matter how hard you are on it, it'll never stretch out. It'll always go back to how it was.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So how long have you had the vest in? I mean, you said midsummer, right? You've had it.
So I think it's been around 6 months, I think.
Okay.
And did you get the the tournament day vest versus the
practice vest?
The practice vest. I mean, that's what they used to call it. It's the perforated one versus the solid one. Which one did you wind up with?
Yes, sir. So I went with the competition vest.
Gotcha.
Well, being in Texas, it's, I can attest as somebody that's lived down there, it gets hot down there, real hot, especially in the summertime.
Yes, sir.
And I bet you, I'm just going to guess, but I'm going to bet you didn't sweat as much in that vest as you have your previous vest, correct?
Oh, yes. It is the coolest vest I have ever worn. It keeps me cool the entire time. And like I said, it's also due to the material and keeps me cool no matter what.
Gotcha.
And also, just recently I shot in the rain, and it's also one of the driest vests I've ever shot in, especially in heavy rain.
No, I haven't done that yet, so I'll have to try that out. Hey, you said that you got your vest customized. Do you mind us asking what you had put on it?
So I put game bore on it because that's my ammo of choice.
Mm-hmm.
I got my gun manufacturer, which is Zoli, and my chokes, which I shoot rhino chokes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually put my coach's decal, which I thought was super cool that I could do that. All I had to do was give them the decal and they put it on the vest. No problem.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, that's one of the neat features is you can just basically customize it exactly the way you want it. So I think that's another big selling feature for that vest.
Well, Lane, if there's someone that was on the fence, because we've heard a lot of back and forth about actually trying the vest. If there's somebody on the fence, you were having a conversation with them at a shoot or whatever, and they're just not sure, what would you say to that person about your vest? What, they're on the fence. They don't know what to do. What's your opinion? What do you tell them?
Well, first of all, I'd say just go for it. There's nothing to lose. I mean, the price is amazing, and I'd almost say they guarantee that they love the way it feels, but obviously can't guarantee that. But I just say go for it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Why
absolutely.
not? Why not? Life's too short. Cool.
Well, Lane, thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us. We enjoy.
Absolutely.
We enjoy doing this segment. I know Barepelt loves it, and it gives you a chance to throw your name out there. You're a young and upcoming shooter, so it's helping you out too, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, Lane. We really appreciate your input, and enjoy that vest. And I'm sure people probably come up and ask you questions about it. I'm sure you're eager to tell about it.
Oh, yes, sir.
And for anybody that's out there that is on the fence, visit barepelt.com, Barepelt, and customize your own vest for, you're right around the $130 price point. I don't know how you could go wrong.
Yeah.
And at Barepelt, it's not just your vest, it's your new uniform. Lane, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll be talking soon, bud.
Yes, sir. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
See you, Lane.
See you, Lane.
Hey, shooters, when you're traveling, protect your gun in the finest case available. Negrini is a sponsor of the Dead Pair podcast, and right now, use the promo code DEADPAIR, that's DEADPAIR, all one word, for a 10% discount off your order. Plus, if your order totals more than $300, they're going to throw in free shipping. Remember, Negrini, we case your memories.
American-made Atlas traps are made right here in Kansas and feature the finest quality, innovation, and support in the business. Atlas traps are made using aircraft-quality aluminum and stainless steel to ensure your traps will outlast the competition.
So whether you're an individual needing a private trap for practice and recreation, or a club needing to outfit your entire facility, family-owned and operated Atlas Traps can suit all your needs.
Visit atlastraps.com to see the full line of commercial and recreational traps and accessories. With prices that won't make you see red and quality that won't leave you feeling blue, Atlas has the finest equipment available. All right, on the phone with us all the way from Mississippi, Dr. Grace Sturdivant. Grace, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm really glad to be talking to you to wind up this day.
Well, both Jason and I have been very excited to talk with you. I know you've got a ton of information to share with our listeners. Starting off, can you just give us a little bit of a brief spiel about your background and how you got started in this whole thing?
Sure. I will refrain from giving you the whole life story that I feel culminates with what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
But I do think it's important to note that I grew up in Grenada, Mississippi, the daughter of an avid outdoorsman, grew up at my dad's hunting camp, riding four-wheelers all day. Even though I didn't hunt and shoot that much growing up, I'm steeped in that tradition and have a very healthy respect and admiration for the wonderful things that hunters do for our land and animal population. I'm often heard saying that hunters are the true environmentalists. So I come at it from that sort of a background. Fast forward, I went to audiology school at Vanderbilt and got my doctorate of audiology degree. And from there came to work in an academic medical center here in Jackson, Mississippi, where I developed a niche for working with older patients who had dementia and hearing loss. That became my clinical niche, and some speaking and publications that I wrote on that topic led to me being involved with a research study out of Johns Hopkins looking at that very topic. And all the while I was thinking to myself, why as a medical community are we waiting on people to come to see us once their hearing loss is debilitating? Why are we not going out to where people are and making it easier for them to get really great hearing protection that meets their needs, maybe even is so enjoyable to use that they truly can appreciate it and enjoy it and up their game by using it, and work on hearing healthcare over the course of a lifetime at a much earlier starting point. So in a nutshell, that's how I became a hearing conservation specialty audiologist.
Okay. And fun fact, come on, Grace, you're being too modest.
What are you about to come up with?
Former Miss Tennessee. Come on.
Someone's done a deep dive on the interweb.
No names mentioned.
Yes, it's true. I had the honor of being Miss Tennessee in the Miss America pageant in January of 2008. And it was while I was in audiology school. I took a year off of school to do this job in Tennessee. At that time, the governor's office booked me as an employee, and I spoke in schools, up to 5 schools a day throughout that whole school year, talking about drug and alcohol, healthy habits, and working with kids, just trying to set a good example and be a good role model. And during that time, I also started a nonprofit organization that raised money to purchase the needed hearing aids and audiology equipment for children who, at that time, under 10 care, their families made a little too much money, but they still couldn't afford these really pricey devices these kids needed. So that was my first foray into business management, was with my own nonprofit during grad school. And it was because of that Miss Tennessee opportunity that I was able to do that.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool year.
That is very cool. So obviously we're a shooting podcast and we're talking about OtoPro. Can you tell us?
Tell me, is that the first time the Miss America pageant has been mentioned on your podcast?
Yes, it has.
I'd say, yeah. We definitely hang your hat on that one.
And all you guys out there, calm down. This nice young lady's married, so.
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, OtoPro. Can you tell us some of the history and how the company came about?
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of explained my thought process of wanting to help people with prevention. And I could not get people to come into the medical office for me to fit them for good custom products. And I was at dinner with some friends, and my friend said to me, if you went out to where people are and did this on site and made it easy for them so that they didn't have to go to the doctor to do this, I mean, it would be amazing. People would line up for you. And I got home, that was a Friday night. And by Sunday night, my husband and I had a website proprietary up. And by Monday morning, I had an LLC, and the rest is history. I mean, I had been searching for what that idea was going to be. I had this burning desire to own my own business and get outside of the large medical institution. And when that idea so coincided with what I was becoming more and more passionate about in my work, it was just kind of, the spark was lit, and that was that.
Very cool. So what is your official position with OtoPro?
Oh, I am creator, president, CEO, marketing director, customer service specialist. You name it.
Wearer of all hats, basically.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it is the hashtag entrepreneur life going on over here. I do have a wonderful PR and marketing firm that helps me out. I've got an amazing administrative assistant that helps me out. But by and large, for the first really almost 3 years of this business, it has been an honor and a privilege and the most exciting work I've ever done. But it's been me hustling really hard to build this brand and to build something really different. I didn't invent any technology, and I want to make that very clear. I have no stake in any current product on the market, and I think that sets me apart from any other person you could buy a product from out at these shoots, because I'm an audiologist first. I want to protect your hearing first, and I am constantly researching products on the market so that when I talk to you, I can source whatever that product is, whether it's coming from this company or that company. So that's a very important distinction about my business and branding, is that OtoPro sources the most ideal products for you, but OtoPro is not a specific line of products.
Gotcha.
Well, I guess most of us pretty much all of us should know basic hearing protection. We all think about either like the big earmuffs or like the little foam squishies that you jam in your ear. But when you get into the electronic hearing protection, it's kind of a complicated thing. There are a lot of different products out there, and they all promise the moon and back.
They do.
So, with that being said, tell us what it is about OtoPro that separates your brand from others.
Absolutely. So when I first started this, I started ordering products and gaining contracts with, I won't name any names of competing product lines, but I started ordering everything, looking at everything and putting on my audiology hat and studying the white papers and the specs. And I was delighted to see that the most expensive products were actually not the very best products. My favorite products are made by a hearing aid company. And because they're not a one-off only focused on hearing protection, because they're housed under the umbrella of a global hearing aid company, these products have a much more advanced internal circuit than their competitors do. And that's one thing to note. Also, if it was the most expensive thing, I'm not basing this on an economy sale, to be quite honest. I started this thinking, if I'm sourcing the very best, it's probably going to be the most expensive thing out there. But it's not. And because it's created by this much larger company, they've already got all the bits and parts and pieces, and they're already doing all the R&D for the hearing aid side. So oftentimes, if you're shopping around, you'll notice that the products I'm carrying are a fraction of the cost of some of the other things that you might see marketed more heavily to this crowd.
So
that I would say that's one big differentiator. Also to note, a lot of these companies only push the really expensive electronic hearing protection.
Mm-hmm.
And the product I am most excited about is the most recent electronic hearing protection. But I also carry some passive protection that's pretty darn great, made with medical grade silicone in that hearing aid lab. So if you just want a solid set of earplugs, I'm going to send you the most amazing solid set of earplugs you've ever had. And those are only going to run you about $200. So, there's a range of offerings.
Right. And you're already getting way ahead of me.
Sorry.
This dumb Ohio redneck can only filter so many thoughts at once here. So one of the things, the in-ear hearing protection that's amplified.
Right.
For hunting situations, I can see where this is great because you can hear a squirrel fart from 80 yards away. Okay. But the shooter's ability to focus when he's in the box can very easily be broken by a noisy golf cart or the squad member that won't shut up or somebody that's back there rustling shells in their vest or whatever. So for your amplified hearing protection, is there a way to filter that, or do you just turn that off, or how?
Absolutely. When any electronic product is powered down, it should fit your ear in such a way that it serves as a solid earplug at that point, because it should be that perfect custom fit, tight fit with no air leakage, so that when it's turned off, it should be a solid earplug. Now, with the products that I'm most excited about right now, you can control the volume of whatever you're streaming via Bluetooth. Anything coming through your phone can be streamed wirelessly. I have some shooters that really like to play music in the background. I would like to think it's some sort of Zen like spa music, but it's probably Metallica or something crazy. I don't know. But you can control that volume separately from the external volume. I like to give the example of when I'm flying. I use these routinely on long flights, and I love that I can be streaming my audio. And then if there's an announcement being made, I can turn on a microphone and even amplify what's going on around me, layered on top of whatever I'm streaming. So at the click of a button or a push on the earpiece itself, you can quickly mute those external microphones altogether to shut it out.
Well, let's talk about the products here for just a second.
Sure.
So the high end, we were talking about the amplified, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm really interested. I'm really intrigued. You were telling me, and my terminology is probably incorrect, but you were telling me you kind of have like a filtered set where
I do.
You can hear, they can be in your ear, and you could be talking to someone, and it's just normal volume, but when the gun goes off, it silences. And I think
that's right.
I think you said those are $399. Is that correct?
They actually come to like $332 and some change out the door for the pair. Yeah. In fact, I mean, I'm working with a high school shooting team here in the Jackson, Mississippi area. And that's a product that I really like to put on these young shooters with really healthy hearing, those great ears that can still hear a pin drop. You put a filter in that medical grade silicone tight fitting mold, and anything that hits your eardrum has to pass through that filter. And there's a lot of ways to filter an earplug. You'll see some earplugs that look like they just have a bore drilled through them, right, with a little, like a little dam that you can probably see. A lot of times it's white kind of shoved in there. That's one way to do it. I don't particularly like that kind of filter. Okay. The one that I use is a sound pressure valve. And while the earplug is made in a lab in Minneapolis, this valve is actually made in Denmark, and it regulates the sound pressure that can hit your eardrum. So anything at a safe level is going to pass through naturally with very little dampening. So, if you're hearing leaves rustling with your natural hearing ear, you'll be able to hear leaves rustling through this filter. But anything over that certain ceiling, which is around 95 decibels, you're going to get all the protection that you would from a typical solid earplug at that point. Wow. So those are really cool. And I had a pair of those first for myself. And I was very impressed when I put on this particular filter after trying some others, because I could actually feel some air exchange. I had to look in the mirror and make sure that I had them in my ears properly, because they didn't feel really plugged. Mm-hmm. My own voice sounded kind of boomy because I'm making you listen through a small hole. Right. And your natural resonance of your ear canal is kind of destroyed at that point. But I could hear things so normally, and it felt like I could feel some air exchange. But yet when the gun fired, it was as if it was fired across a football field from me.
Wow. That is very cool.
Well, and then,
it was pretty cool.
And then moving on up from that, Grace, I mean, what is the next levels of hearing protection that you offer? Obviously, it comes with a higher price, but can we talk a little bit about the benefits and the features of those?
Absolutely. So to recap, we've talked about a solid set of custom plugs that is going to fill up your ears and cost about $200. We've talked about the filtered version of that, which is a little over $300. Then you're making the jump up to the electronics world. And I do still offer the battery operated version of that product, which saves you a couple of $100. You can get that for around a little over the $1,200 price point. Mm-hmm. And that product, some people are telling me they don't want to have to remember to charge it. They don't mind that the hearing aid circuit is a little bit more dated. That product's been around a very long time. And, they don't mind that the programs, the preset programs, which we can talk through, are not really current. For example, there's one called Telecoil that really only works with landline telephones. And I mean, how many times are you going to pick up a landline telephone while you're wearing these earplugs? Right. So, just for example, but they do still give you the same amount of protection. It's not any lesser amount of protection. It's just a different way of powering the device is truly what it comes down to for the people that still want that product. They take the small little hearing aid battery.
Okay.
And then from there, you're looking at that. It's only been out for about a year on the market. Bluetooth, amplifying, rechargeable, hearing protection, kind of all in one device, which is just unheard of before now. You'll see some products that will advertise Bluetooth right now. And so far, what I'm seeing is that they have a less sophisticated hearing aid circuit and a very short battery life. So with this product, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
On a full battery, if you're not using Bluetooth, you get 23 hours of power.
Wow. That's very cool.
If you are using Bluetooth, you can get around 16, which is still, I mean,
that's cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So
that'll let you shoot like a whole weekend, really, without even having to worry about recharging.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, the charging box that they come with, it plugs into the wall when you're at home. And then when you unplug it, you can see these indicator lights on the back that show you how much charge that charger is holding. And you can throw just the charger in your bag. Let's say you're going somewhere and staying in a cabin that doesn't have electricity. Your charger can recharge your earplugs 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Without being plugged back in.
That's neat.
That's very cool.
So the reason why you're getting all this battery life is because they don't pair through your phone via the typical Bluetooth route. It is Bluetooth, so you have to make sure that Bluetooth is turned on, but most people don't even realize it's there. But you have hearing aid settings in your phone that use a lower bandwidth draw on the Bluetooth. So it's a slower draw of that battery. And that's how you're getting it. And the only way you can do that is to be classified as a Class 2 medical device hearing aid. And you're only going to get that with a product that's made by a hearing aid company.
Gotcha. Well, Grace, I know that you've got some big name shooters that already use your products, including David Radulovich. And I think it was, was it Tracy Wright, Jason, that told us he was using those first, and that's what kind of wanted us to get in contact with you.
Yeah.
You know, with these pros, they demand quality in their products. They're out there putting their name on the line, usually for money or for, a high-ranking win at a major event. What are some of the changes to your products that you've had to make based on the feedback that you've received from some of these pro shooters?
To be quite honest, I mean, yes, I have the ear of these manufacturers that I use because I order so many products through them, and they know that, I'm working with some of these high profile individuals. So I'm certainly in their ear telling them what needs to happen with future advancements for the product. But what I continue adapting is the way I deliver services, because at its core, OtoPro is a concierge service delivery model. I want to roll out the red carpet for every single client. I want to make sure that my clients I get so frustrated if a client calls me and says, well, I just hung up with customer service. I'm like, I am your customer service. You don't have to call that number, because you know what? I can send one email to my insider at that company and have it taken care of for you. So building this national, yes, I'm in Jackson, Mississippi, but I'm continuing to grow. I'll say one big development based on feedback from all of my clients, not just the big names, is I'm building this preferred provider network. So if you call me, let's see, some of my most recent ones were Wausau, Wisconsin, Dover, Delaware. Wherever you call me from, if I don't already have an audiologist or a provider that I work with, I will find someone in your area and I will talk with them and make sure they understand exactly what I need as far as those ear mold impressions go. I will help set up that appointment for you. And then I email you a prepaid UPS label to mail those impressions in, and we can do the rest remotely. So building that network of providers to allow me to provide services to people that I don't necessarily have an opportunity to meet in person, that's been a game changer for me.
Well, Grace, I want to ask a little bit of technical information. Again, don't lose me. I'm a dumb Ohio redneck. So we all know that, shooting without hearing protection can cause extensive damage to your ears. This is a 2-part question. So first of all, what decibel level does it take to cause damage? Like, how high of a decibel level before you're going to start doing damage to your ears? Either if it's a one time or a repeated, like the bang of a gun around a course.
Right. You may not like this answer, but it's all going to depend on how long you're exposed to it, because hearing damage is cumulative. And let me give you 2 examples. If you go out and shoot a rifle, one of these more powerful rifles that can be 160 decibels plus every time you fire it. Let's say you do that without hearing protection and you fire it, 3-4 times. Okay. Mm-hmm. you've got a certain amount of hearing damage that just happened, whether you notice it immediately or not until later. You also take someone who, let's see, they wake up, they go to the gym, they're wearing their AirPods or whatever, they're blasting some loud music to wake them up and get them fired up for their workout. Then they go to work. They might have a work environment where they're listening to podcasts, or they might work in a noisy environment. Then they come home and mow the yard. That person is going to have the same amount of noise exposure and risk as the person who went out and shot without hearing protection. So it's cumulative.
Really?
But to answer your question and give you, it's kind of like sun damage. I recently heard the analogy that makes a whole lot of sense. Hearing damage is a lot like sun damage. I wish I could go back to, growing up in the 90s and going to tanning beds. I mean, like, why did I do that? Now I'm up in midlife and wishing I could turn back that clock, because I'm now seeing damage that I did in my teens and 20s. So hearing damage is much the same way. You may not notice it now. Some of these younger shooters may feel invincible because they don't notice it, but it will catch up to you later, just like that sun damage will. But to answer your question, there's two different standards for noise exposure criteria. There's OSHA, which you probably think of when it comes to workplace noise hazards. Mm-hmm. So OSHA is the governing body that sets those criteria and mandates for the workplace. Then you've got the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, the Niosh standards. Have you guys heard of Niosh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had to deal with them.
So, yeah, Niosh is a little more conservative, and Niosh can make recommendations, but they're not in a position to truly regulate or enforce standards. I like the Niosh standards better because both of these criteria assume that your noise exposure is confined to an isolated experience. It's not taking into account that whatever you're doing for the rest of that day is also contributing to your noise dose. Okay. So with Niosh, if you're exposed to 100 decibels, Niosh tells you can be exposed to that for 15 minutes. Okay. Now, if you're doing 140 to 160 decibels with a rifle or a shotgun, which is the average for those is 140 to 160, according to Niosh, you're looking at instantaneous damage, which I get some pushback on when I'm talking to people, because people will say, well, I don't instantly notice hearing damage when I shoot my rifle without hearing protection. Well, like I said, you may not notice it right now, but every single time those little tiny hair cells, I'll save you from the true anatomy and physiology lesson, but every time you shock those hair cells with sounds that loud, you're damaging them a little bit more, and they're getting weakened. They'll recover so many times and then they won't recover again.
Wow. So, okay, the second part of my question was, what does your protection take the decibel levels down to?
That's a great question. Again, it's not an easy answer. So with a custom seal, you're going to get up to about 26, 27 decibels of realistic noise reduction. Okay. That's with a solid seal. Now, if you really want to measure the noise reduction rating is an antiquated system of looking at noise reduction, because it's looking at the softest sounds you can hear with and without the hearing protection in. And it's not a linear scale when you're looking at louder and louder and louder sounds. So you can't just assume that you get 26 to 27 decibels of noise reduction for a 140 decibel gun. It doesn't equate that way. So what we really need is what's called an IPIL rating, and be on the lookout for IPIL, because I feel you're going to be seeing that more and more. For example, let's talk about that filtered version. Okay. That's the easiest example. The filtered version that we just talked about, that is meant to not dampen the soft sounds, but to allow you to hear them naturally. It's going to have a noise reduction rating of 0 to 1.
Okay.
But when you measure how much is the decibel level taken down at the peak of a noise blast, the IPIL is what you're looking at. And that, for that particular product, is 33.1 decibels.
Wow. Okay.
But it's just I know I get really technical because that's what you get when you're working with me from being trained in a medical setting. But it's just not a straightforward answer. And that's why I cringe a little bit when I hear people who don't come at it from an audiology background trying to explain the logarithmic decibel scale. And it's just not that simple. And so, yes, I can dumb it down and say, at its peak, you're going to get about 33 decibels of reduction. But I don't want that to be confused with me advertising a 33 decibel noise reduction rating, because that's not the case.
Right.
So for most of our listeners that may not be familiar with an electronic ear system, it's not so much that it's completely shutting off the sound of the report of the gun. It's lessening it, right? It's just bringing it down to where it's safer for you.
That's right.
Okay.
I tell people this, and this is a very careful thing too. If you hear people advertising a noise reduction rating of more than about 26 to 27, you're looking at some pretty slick marketing. And I, as an audiologist, take issue with that. Now, in order for me to guarantee that if you're involved in gun sports, you are not going to get hearing protection, I literally need to put you in a helmet, a full head helmet, because you hear through the bones of your skull. There's only so much sound we can reduce through your ear canals, because your cochlea that is sending all those signals to the brain that we're trying to protect is just a couple of millimeters behind the mastoid bone, which is just that hard spot right behind your ear beneath your hairline. And you can hear pretty well through the bones of your skull, actually. So that's why if you're shooting with a muzzle blast, or if you're in an indoor range, I want you in some good custom protection. I don't care if it's high end or low end, but I want it to completely seal your ear canals. And I want you in a muff over the top of your ear that covers a decent amount of surface area around your ear. Gotcha. And so when you do that, you can get up to 50 decibels of a noise reduction rating by doubling up like that. And once you get over a certain point, I mean, as an audiologist, I want you wearing both.
So, I guess my next question would be, or at least my curiosity is, I was going to ask you what your preference was, whether it was the over the ear or the inner ear hearing protection. Mm-hmm. But I know that it's probably also a personal preference thing, because I don't like over the ear protection just because of the way I hold my gun stock to my head. They usually bang into the stock and they make noises and stuff. They rub and stuff when I'm shooting. So I've inner ear is where I would really like to go. I realize that it's a better thing to actually use the over the ear, but I mean, can you still get a good significant amount of protection using the inner ear plugs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in fact, either one of those in isolation, like if you're just wearing a muff or you're just wearing an in-ear plug, that's going to be pretty comparable. You're not going to see a significantly greater benefit to wearing a muff versus a good fitting plug. Okay. The reason why most people, adults, really fight against wearing the muffs. I mean, down here in Mississippi, they're hot, they're clunky, they get in the way when you're trying to mount your gun, they're making noises, all the things you mentioned. So a lot of people end up with me because they're just not happy with how clunky those muffs are. But I'll tell you, I mean, I've got my nephew, he's 11 years old, and he loves to be in the woods with my dad. And I've got him in muffs because I want to be able to visually see that his growing ears are completely encompassed with that muff. Because I'll have parents ask me to fit their younger kids or their growing kids with custom protection. I can, but I feel so responsible because as that child hits a growth spurt and their ear gets bigger, that earplug gets loose. And as soon as there is any air leakage around that earplug, then I'm setting them up for damage. So I'm very hesitant to fit kids.
Well, okay.
With custom. You
just hit on something here. You said that earplug gets loose. I have tried, don't yell at me, please. I have tried the mold your own ear protection. I'm not going to mention any name brands, like 2 or 3 different name brands. And
sure.
They fit good. They feel good. Everything's great. As soon as I mount my gun, the right one pushes out. So how do we alleviate this problem? Or is that basically some of the custom fit process?
Well, that's why I don't use any do-it-yourself kits. And if I can't do it myself, I'm going to send you to a professional that has been trained on taking deep ear mold impressions. You know, my toughest crowd for this are the dentists I work with because they use a very similar impression material. and they will tell me, just let me do this in my office. I'm like, trust me, I couldn't do this on myself. and I would beg you to find me somebody that's made more ear mold impressions at this point than I have. And I literally could not do it on myself. I get such a deep ear mold impression, much deeper than what I actually need for the finished product. And that's because I want it to fit so securely down in that deepest part where it goes in your ear canal to keep it nice and secure. If you look on my website at some of the pictures of myself and others wearing my products, you'll see that nothing sticks out of your ear. Everything fits nice and secure down in the crevices of your ear. And if it's moving out of your ear, that's something I need to know about so I can fix it.
Gotcha.
Well, it's funny you say that because I use another brand and they've been okay, but I have noticed that certain movements, or if it's really hot and I'm maybe sweating a little bit, my ear protection tends to slide in and out of my ear. And I did mold them myself and send the molds down to them to form this set of earplugs.
Right.
And I feel like they're pretty good, but obviously something's going on because they are moving around.
Yeah, if they're moving around, they really shouldn't move around in your ear. And, that's part of the trouble. I tell people foam earplugs are actually pretty great hearing protection when they're worn properly. The problem is I rarely see anyone wearing them properly. They're supposed to be down so deep in your ear canals that when they expand, there's nothing sticking out. If I'm looking at you straight on, I should not be able to see those foam earplugs sticking out of the sides of your ears at all. So, and when you have deep custom ear molds made, when you look at that impression, people go, oh my word, because they don't realize how many bends there are. Most people have two pretty sharp bends in their ear canal, and that foam earplug is never going to accommodate the bend. So most of the population is just physically unable to wear foam earplugs correctly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm a basket case then.
Well, we already knew that.
Now, I don't know what it is. At my left ear, if I put it all the way in, now don't get me wrong, I get a good seal. It definitely quiets everything. But if I put it all the way in, my ear pops and I get dizzy and everything else. So it's an equilibrium problem or something.
The other is, as you move your jaw around and you move your head and you lean your head down to mount your gun, your ear canal is moving a little bit. Do you ever feel that?
Not with the twisties, but I do know what you're talking about because with the ones I tried to form myself, I mean, if I yawn, the thing pops out. So
right.
If you sit perfectly still, they might stay put for a whole lot longer than when you're actually out doing the sport.
Correct. Well, Grace, let's do everybody a favor. First and foremost, let's tell everybody your website.
Absolutely. www.OtoProTechnologies.com. OTOPRO Technologies, plural.com.
Perfect. And it sounds like you're more than happy to take a phone call yourself, or an email, or is there some way somebody can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. The best way to initially reach out to me is through email.
Okay.
And that email address is info@OtoProTechnologies.com.
Perfect.
That email does come to me. I will be the one to respond to you, and we'll need to set up a time for a call that works for the both of us.
Okay.
As you can imagine, I spend much of my day on the phone with clients, and so the email is definitely the best way for us to coordinate a quick initial call. But again, my job is to make this as seamless and easy for the client as possible. And so similar to a concierge in a high-end hotel that's going to make life easy for you during your stay, that is what I'm here to do for you in regard to your ears. And if I notice a problem or if I hear of any red flags in what you're telling me, I routinely source medical referrals if I think there's something medically treatable about your hearing. So, this is more than, it's just not a product sales approach. It's a service delivery. Let me help you take care of your ears for the long haul approach.
Well, you got to watch referring me to medical things because I'll end up at an audiologist, an ophthalmologist, a psychologist. I mean, I can just keep going. But
he's got frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, I'm a mess. Anyway, Grace, are we leaving anything out? Is there anything else you really wanted to drive home or let people know another way that you could help them? I mean, this is amazing, everything you've told us so far.
Well, I would love to tell people that, it's not too late to start protecting your hearing. I have a feeling, as I've been enjoying your podcast for a while now, you have some very experienced shooters that listen to your podcast. And I have people tell me, oh, it's too late. My hearing's too far gone. And take it from someone who used to be treating and diagnosing hearing loss once it was so debilitating that you would not be able to be listening to this podcast right now. And you don't want it to get to that point. Right. So it's not, if you're listening to this podcast and hearing the words and understanding what's being said, even if that volume is turned up a little bit, it's not too late to start protecting your hearing. I'll also encourage people to check out my website because my product offering is subject to change as new technology comes out. As I check in with people, a year post the time that I work with them, there very well may be a new product offering that's come about that I'm able to tell them about. So I also stay up to date on social media, Instagram primarily, but I'm also on Facebook. And that's where you'll see me post, some nice little Q&A tidbits about your hearing or product specific details such as that.
And I saw that you got to go out and bust some sporting clays yourself here lately on your social media. That's awesome.
I did. I had the best time. A facility called Prairie Wildlife. They're an Orvis endorsed facility in West Point, Mississippi. They hosted a ladies' weekend, and we had so much fun. I spend a lot of time, and I enjoy this male-dominated field, but it sure is fun to get out there with a group of ladies. And let me tell you, we're pretty good.
Yeah. Well, hey, now careful on the male-dominated field because we just had one. In fact, one of your shooters, Grace Callahan, was on last week.
I'm a huge fan of Grace Callahan.
Let's just say we've been very graced the last couple of weeks.
Bump.
I'm here all night, folks.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, that girl can get it done. Don't think that she can't run with the big boys. She can get it done. So.
Oh, that's what, there may be more men than women involved at this moment, but the female population is growing and the females that are doing it are strong.
Yes. We're seeing
that's something that is really cool to see. And Grace Callahan is a fantastic example of that.
I don't think you'll meet a happier shooter, male or female, in this world. That girl, my goodness. I wish I could be that happy all the time.
Right?
But
I'm pretty sure that even when she's angry, she's smiling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think bubbly is the right word. There's a word above bubbly that somehow she is.
Right.
Well, you know what I think it is? I think she has that internal joy that comes from a deeper place, and it's like nothing can touch that.
Yeah.
That's what I see in her for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's very cool. Well,
yeah.
Grace, we're going to talk when we're done with this podcast because you've got me intrigued, and I definitely want to try your products.
Well, thank you.
And I definitely need lots of help. So, anyway,
I would love to have you in my OtoPro client family. I would.
That'd be awesome. Thank you very much for spending some time with us this evening. We really appreciate it, and I hope the listeners got some good information. Obviously, you gave them a way to get a hold of you, and we're going to put that same information right down. If you're listening to this podcast, we rattled too fast or you didn't quite catch it, it's going to be right down in the description of this podcast. You can go down, there'll be the website and Grace's email. Please reach out to her. I know I'm going to myself.
Yeah, definitely. I will too.
Yeah, I want to try your products. I mean, I'm very intrigued, and it sounds like you could definitely help us. So, Grace, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Grace.
I enjoyed it very much.
Thanks. We'll talk soon.
Great.
Well, that was definitely some great information from Grace. I mean, she's definitely a wealth of knowledge in that subject. So.
You know, and oh boy, here we go. I'm going to get in trouble. I don't want to compare her to David Radulovich because that's just not apples to oranges, so to speak. But she can talk as much as David. However, sorry, David, The difference is I'm hanging on every word that woman says. She's a wealth of information. She really is.
I wasn't sure which direction you were going with that, to be honest with you.
Well, we might have to edit that out. But anyway, sorry, Dave. No offense, buddy. Hey, let's switch gears here for a second. So, got word from Mark Baltazar and Doug Kirkendall from K&L Ammo. So, the qualifiers are over with for the Game Boy Classic, and the invitational is set. You have to be on the invite list for the finals, the invitational, if you will, down at David's place, Cypress Creek.
Right.
December 3rd through the 5th. A little surprise for everyone. If you can't make it, don't worry. We're going to cover the action live.
That's right.
Mr. Alley and I are going to be large and in charge for that event. We're going to cover some of the shooting, the final ceremony. We're going to do some interviews. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll be able to watch that on our YouTube channel.
Right.
If you're listening to this, you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, get over there and subscribe. That way you'll be alerted when these live videos come out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I mean, thank you again to all of our sponsors, Negrini, Barepelt, Atlas Traps, Rhino Chokes,
Game Bore,
and RE Ranger.
Yes, absolutely. We appreciate all of your support. That night shoot's growing to the point of near cutoff stage.
Oh boy, yeah. If you want to get in on that, you better do it now. Don't wait any longer because it'll probably be sold out for too long.
There's some big names signing up for that, and I'll take credit for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Alley.
Good job, Mr. Rambo.
The event speaks for itself. It's perfect timing. It's after the Nationals. There's nothing left for the rest of the year. It's one of those big signature shoots. If you've never shot at night, it's a ton of fun. What was it you heard through the grapevine they're doing on Friday night?
So I know Friday night they're doing, the meal is going to be wood-fired pizza, pasta, salad. They're going to do lunch boxes for both Saturday and Sunday, and then City Barbecue, I believe, is also catering Saturday and Sunday. So, not only do you get a great shoot, but they do it well at Cardinal. Good food. And, so at least you get to go home with a full belly.
Jake didn't come through with the lobster truck?
I didn't hear any more on the lobster truck. No, I'm not sure where that conversation went. It probably went off the deep end early on. Got submarined.
Yeah, but we'll be there. Of course, we're shooting. We're setting the prelim targets. You guys have heard us talk about that a million times. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's a shoot, man, that you're just going to have a blast at.
Yeah, and hopefully the weather will be nice. I mean, last year was really a unique experience because it was, so beautiful, so comfortable, a lot of people out there. And then the prior 2 years, you better have your Carhartts on and your toboggans. So, be prepared. If you are going to come, it could be chilly.
Yeah, for sure. In the meantime, we've got some fun stuff coming up next week. I'm not going to say. We'll just leave it as a surprise, Sean. What do you think?
Fair enough. I will say this. Keep listening to us on the Dead Pair. We appreciate everybody. Take somebody new shooting. Take somebody new out that's never been to a tournament. Get them involved with this sport. Make it fun. And until next time, we will see you here on the Dead Pair Podcast.